The September 12th, 2012 meeting of the Missouri City Planning and Zoning Commission is called to order. We have everybody here tonight except Gaspar and Tim Haney. All right, agenda item number 3, the minutes. Is there a motion that we approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay. The minutes are approved as presented. Okay, moving on to reports. I have no report to make. 4B, Planning and Zoning Commissioners, anyone?
No report.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 5, the staff reports. Mr. Director?
As much as I would like to be exceedingly brief, I do think it is worth my attempting to explain this chart to you. City Council had a retreat, and out of that retreat came City Council's expectations of themselves to one another, what they expect of staff, how they expect themselves to relate to staff, and finally, the last quadrant, boards and commissions, which includes Planning and Zoning Commission. They expect, as a member of the commission, you to take ownership for learning the roles and responsibilities of the commission, ensure there is alignment with the city's vision, mission, and strategic goals, provide written minutes of the meetings to council, and serve within the defined scope of the role and its working relationship with council. I think y'all fit there very well, in my opinion. And my observation, we do provide the minutes to City Council, and just a reminder, in the event you have a question of how you're to look at things, you can fall back to this chart and see that. We wanted to provide that to you so you would be aware of the expectations that City Council has expressed.
Thank you. All right, does anybody have any questions? Anyone? All right, thank you, Gary.
Hold that dear to my heart.
We can print one on better stock and make it suitable for framing.
There you go.
If you need
Or I
that.
could wear it.
We probably could have it printed on a T-shirt for you.
There you go.
Okay, moving on, 5D. Jennifer, the Planning Department.
Well, I get to announce our tentative plans for next month, which is National Community Planning Month. And I'm going to pass these out as I'm talking. But we would like you all to look at your calendars and see how you can be involved with us next month. We're really excited. It's sponsored every year by the American Planning Association, which is our professional organization for city planning. And next month, we hope to celebrate, as we have in the last several years. This year, we're planning, we still need to work out the logistics, but we're planning to do a walkabout tour with the commission and essentially go out throughout the city and see some of the projects that you've recommended throughout the year, and then also see, how some of your recommendations are implemented on the ground. So in terms of our sign ordinance and some of our upcoming changes to our regulations. So what I'm hoping is that you all will look at the dates and see how it works on your calendar, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks we can kind of come to an agreement on some dates to do that for the commission. Another event that we're planning to do or planning exhibits around the city and hopefully at area grocery stores and essentially bringing planning to the community. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am because I'm really excited. So, thank you.
Okay, anybody have any questions at all about that? Okay, moving on to 5C, the Public Works area. Scott, would you like to step to the podium?
I'm going to have to get a taller mic. Public Works has been doing a lot of looking and evaluating how we're providing services to the different areas, different departments of the city that we're responsible to provide services to. And one of the major components of our job is development services and the Planning and Zoning Commission on that. Looking at the fact that increasingly over the last couple years, particularly now that we have a groundwater reduction plan, a new surface water plan online, the city's worked out an interlocal agreement with MUDS 47 and 48 where we're operating their utility system or distribution system and water plant. We have more and more users of our Steep Bank plant. Utilities are becoming a much bigger factor for city consideration in the development services part, whereas before we could defer to the MUD and say, get MUD approval and we'll bless it. Now we have a higher role on a day-to-day basis on a lot of the areas that are our prime development opportunities in the city. We also are looking long-term and tying together street maintenance, long-term cost to the citizens of Missouri City on street maintenance, and of course, that cost is affected by the quality and how infrastructure goes in the front. When I've been looking through all this, I have seen that we can probably do a better job in Public Works of tying in and doing a better comprehensive policy internally in making sure that what goes on in development services, that affects utilities, that affects street maintenance, that affects traffic signals, is all tied in consistently on that. The way that we plan on resolving that is pushing it off on this lady right here, Ms. Sharon Valiant, the Assistant Director of Public Works. Sharon is responsible in the city for most of our operational issues and our utility issues. So what we're going to be doing is Jing is our Assistant City Engineer. She's been handling the engineering side of our Public Works Department on that when it comes to development services, and she's been doing an outstanding job on that. But we're going to have Sharon as the Development Services Coordinator to help make sure the holistic picture of tying all these things together comes into play. Now, why am I bringing it to the Planning and Zoning Commission? Probably starting in October, we're going to ask Sharon to have a seat on the dais, and Jing will provide the support and the engineering staff support on that. She's still not going to remove any of the stuff off of her shoulders. She still gets to do everything she's done before, but Sharon will be able to provide the holistic, full city view since she has day-to-day experience and responsibilities in those areas. So I just wanted to let the Planning and Zoning Commission know that probably starting next month you'll see Jing sitting in the audience and Sharon on the dais to provide that better level of service to the P&Z Commission on that. And Jing, you don't get off the hook on anything. You still get to do everything you've done before, and we really appreciate that.
Well, congratulations to you. You've got a lot of stuff to do.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Thank you. Okay, before we move on here, we have one of our city council members here in the audience tonight from District D, Mr. Floyd Emery. And Floyd, excuse me for not recognizing you when we got started.
Well, that's why I'm in the second row, so you wouldn't know.
But anyway, it's good to have you. And anytime you want to chime in, all you got to do is come up to the podium. Okay, moving on. Agenda item number 6, nomination of a Planning and Zoning Commissioner to the City of Missouri City 2012 Bond Committee.
I'd like to move that asks Ron Lee to take that position.
All right, is there a second to that?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the item at all? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, moving on.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you for your confidence. I appreciate it very much.
I won't be here.
Okay, moving on. Agenda item 7, public comments. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to step to the podium and address anything which is not on our agenda for tonight? If you would like to do that, please be our guest. But under the laws here in the state of Texas, we are unable to respond to anybody on any question regarding those items. So if you would like to step to the podium, please be our guest. Okay, seeing no one, moving on to agenda item number 8, the consent agenda. I want to pull agenda item number C, AC. Agenda item A, consider approval of a preliminary plat for the Creekstone Village at Riverstone Section 7, Phase 1. 8B, consider approval of a final plat for LBJ Parkway Street dedication, plat Phase 5. Do I hear a motion that we approve consent agenda items A and B?
So moved. Second.
Is there a second to that? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussions on 8A and B?
I have one quick question on A,
Okay?
which is Creekstone Village at Riverstone, Section 7, Phase 1. On those substantive, I know we're in preliminary plat, but from an engineering standpoint, I mean, are these guys up on this? Because these look like deal killers to me, potentially. Obviously, the TIA, obviously, they can probably handle that, but the extreme event calculations and the drainage plan section, it doesn't look like they've done that at all, or have they not submitted it? And then I guess I'm concerned about the water and wastewater demand calcs. I mean, that's pretty big stuff, isn't it, typically? I'm just curious.
Typically, those are provided. In this case, we have worked with the engineer on providing those calculations, and they're not very elaborate calculations, but they do need to be on the plats, one lines to show the demand for the mud engineers reviewing purposes.
But you don't know of anything that would kill this deal, do you? That's all
No, I
wanna
don't
make
believe
sure.
it would be a
Okay.
deal killer.
If this was a single standalone development,
Yeah,
I would have a lot more concern over it, but over the years and working with the Riverstone utility districts and all, they have a pretty good comprehensive plan. And I believe it's more of a technical issue than a actual, they've got the water and wastewater capacity. In fact, I can guarantee you they have both of those because they got capacity in the city's Steep Bank Flat Bank plant. And we have all that, so, but with the lid out there looking over it and us, I'm confident that it's not a deal killer for any
because
of
this is
this.
that piece that's going up against where the lift station is in the corner they're changing up now, right?
Right.
I couldn't remember if that was ever really part of the overall plan, or,
It was not originally part of the overall plan, you're correct on that, but it has been included in their comprehensive
yeah,
plan.
okay. All right. That's all I have.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the item? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, consent agenda items A and B are approved as presented. Agenda item C, consider approval of a final plat for crossing at Sienna Ranch Reserve B-3.
And, well, yeah, and the commission received an addendum to the memo, and the addendum is just alerting you to the applicant wishes to take this easement that's highlighted in red, which is a 24-foot shared access, cross-access easement that they noted on the final plat. They have two others noted, one along the side here, and then one along the Sienna Parkway side. And they're meeting our requirements for shared access, and they've indicated that on the plat. So staff has no objections to making that change, but the recommendation is to allow them to remove that easement off the plat, and then all of the conditions that are contained in the memorandum.
I think by looking at this, we're okay with this. There's no problem with it. Do I hear a motion? Can we approve agenda item number 8C?
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
But
Right.
that motion includes changing
Yeah.
that easement, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Included with the revision.
All right, so I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on 8C? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, agenda item 8C of the consent agenda is approved with the changes there. Okay. Moving on from there. Agenda item number 9, public hearing and consideration of a final replat for Beltway Crossing Park replat number 1.
And this is just a replat to carve out a little under a 2-acre tract at the corner of the intersection of Cravens Road and South Gessner Road. This plat was recorded earlier this year, and the owners of the property intend to sell that off and develop it possibly as commercial. This is in our industrial area where we have a lot of activity going right now. And staff, the conditions that are listed in the staff report, they need to make those changes.
We have a large Reserve A and a little bitty Reserve B to get to the 22 acres. Okay. Do I hear a motion that we approve this as presented?
Is this a public hearing? It's a public hearing.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to step to the podium and address this particular item?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Is it seconded? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we close the public hearing. All those in favor? Those opposed?
I make a motion that we forward this on as approved, as a replat with the conditions as written.
All right, is there a second to that? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this item at all? Anyone? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, agenda item number 9 is approved.
I'm curious what he's going to build.
That's a question, isn't it?
Interesting.
All right.
Or what he thinks can be built there.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 10, public hearing and consideration for a planned development. That's public hearing to receive comments for or against the request to amend Planning Development District Number 76, Ordinance 0-09-49, to allow for deviations to the city's zoning ordinance concerning architectural and signage regulations relating to the construction of a restaurant. The subject site is located east of the intersection of Highway 6 and FM 1092 Murphy Road, south and west of Lowe's retail store.
And I am filling in for Travis tonight, so bear with me on this project. This is a PD that you've seen several times. It's all of the commercial pad sites out in front of the Lowe's Home Improvement Store. 1092 and Highway 6 is where we're looking at. This particular application is a request to amend that PD that contains the Stone River Center, Carl's Jr., and some other undeveloped commercial parcels. The request is being made on behalf of the Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers Restaurant. And just a little bit of background on Raising Cane's. They opened their first store in 1996. They have stores throughout the country with about 40 in Texas, including one in Pearland and then also one in Sugar Land in the First Colony area. This would be the Missouri City location, and the staff report outlines some of the deviations that they're requesting, particularly in regards to the architectural design of the building and signs. And they're looking at this picture here. You can see the outline of the parcel that they're looking at, so it would be right there at that intersection of 1092 and Highway 6. Not sure what that was. Bear with me 1 second. Let me pull up the elevations. Okay. This is the elevations for the design that they're proposing in Missouri City. And what deviations they're requesting, the exterior materials, as you know, Missouri City requires all masonry materials with primary materials in commercial areas to consist of clay face brick, stone, and what we call architectural masonry units, which are, it's a CMU block that's manufactured to have the appearance of brick or stone. Raising Cane's, they also have a percentage requirement tied to the use of that primary material. As you can see in the elevations and on the second page of the elevations, they provided the amount of primary material or the project brick that they're proposing to use. We have two requirements. One, that they provide at least 33% on each side of the building face, or 50% total for the building, which can be distributed, throughout the building, but it has to be 50% of the total square footage of the building exterior. They've provided the calculations below, and we're looking to meet the 33% side, meaning they would have project brick around each side of the building at 33%. Each side of the building will be visible. You have the access drive to the rear of the building. You have Highway 6 and 1092 on either side. So the 33% probably would work in this case. They're not meeting that requirement. However, staff is recommending to approve the amount of brick that they are providing per these elevations. The other deviations in regards to signs and our favorite topic of the year.
Not canopies?
Not canopies, not canopies. Part of Raising Cane's image is the use of murals that started with the first store in 1996 in front of LSU's campus. And so they've incorporated that concept into this building design. What you see here, the deviations that are being requested are, one, the amount of signage in terms of square feet of sign area exceeds what they would be permitted to do, and that is as the new sign ordinance would be applied. So the increase of 2 square feet per linear footage of the building, they're in excess of that. And so staff is recommending that they reduce the amount of signage that they use to bring that down. The other deviation is the type of material that's used for the wall sign itself. As you know, we had lots of conversations about the use of logos and the lettering for wall signs, but we require channel letters to be used or panel signs. And they have to be, attached to a raceway, a wireway, or attached onto the building itself in a panel. This is a graphic, or it's an acrylic, and I'll let them kind of explain more details about this type of sign. The dog that you see here, the Cane's One Love, are more like banners that would be applied, affixed to the brick, the wall sides of the building. The logo, the Raising Cane's logo, would be more consistent with what we allow, but may not meet the definition for a panel sign as we allow. Also, what you see in these elevations are flags, and I'm going to kind of point them out because they're white background flags, so they may be blending in, but they're proposing 14 flags to go. The flag poles will be attached to the building wall, with the flags extending beyond the wall line of the building. And on these elevations, they've proposed 14 flags in total. Our ordinance restricts no more than 3 flag poles and not to exceed, the roof line, the parapet of the building. And so staff is also recommending disapproval of that. I briefly had a conversation right before we started this meeting to talk about some of the recommendations, and we can discuss it as well. If there is room in terms of not doing the flags or not doing some of the wall signs, we may be able to talk a little further about staff's recommendations for this design. So I'll let whoever wants to speak on behalf of the project to go into that, and we can talk about staff's recommendations.
Okay, would the applicant please step to the podium? State your name, please.
My name is Chris Ferrari. I'm with Raising Cane's and CSRS. I am the applicant for this PD amendment. In regarding the signage, in speaking with the planners, I mean, we're okay with getting rid of the flags and the dog banner, but as it relates to the logo wall sign and the painted wall mural, those are, I guess it's a very well recognized branding element for our business. And having that on the building is probably our most important signs that we've ever put on buildings throughout the nation. And one of it being the painted wall logo, which is on the drive-through sign there, the larger one. Going back to the history of the business, our first restaurant that we did off the campus of LSU, don't let that sway anybody's, vote on this, but it was actually a rehab renovation of an old historical bread company. And when they took off the plaster of the wall, they uncovered this, the bread company's logo, and that's where the logo design was inspired for this business. And I know it doesn't mean much in Missouri City, but in Baton Rouge, where it's based out of, that company was a well-rooted company in the old days of Baton Rouge. And so we tried to carry that, I guess, nostalgic image throughout our business and throughout the rest of the country. So the customer base that we have, the logo is well recognized with that wall mural. People like to see it. It's usually well received with cities. And we actually hire a professional artist that travels around the country and hand paints it. So it's not necessarily, a commercially applied silk screening or some kind of cheaper material. It's high-grade paint, exterior paint done by a professional artist and sealed and then maintained.
You have 40 buildings around the United States, correct?
Texas.
We
How
actually
many-
have.
Oh, just in Texas alone. How many
Just in
buildings do you
Texas
have?
alone, we have about 130 now. Out of those, we've only done away with the wall mural maybe 4 or 5 times.
Any here in Texas?
Sugar Land actually denied us of our wall signage and most of our branding elements. And usually when that happens, we have noticed that Sugar Land actually underperforms pretty significantly to our other stores. And so it does affect the business and the revenue itself.
And that would be First Colony's regulations.
Yeah.
Well, we're sweeter than Sugar Land.
It's okay. And then, to talk further about the actual wall logo sign itself, sorry, but can you give me the exact definition for the channel lettering that you'll have, or panel sign?
The definition for it?
real picture.
Yes. Let me see.
Because I want to be, it's not a cheap sign by any means. I mean, they're quite expensive, but it's a sign that it's bolted to the face of the building. It's back illuminated, it's internally illuminated, and what it is, it's a metal formed box, and it's probably about 8 inches thick. And on the front of it is it's a molded Cane's logo, and it has slight deviations in the face of the elevations between the lettering and the red background. But it is a manufactured sign that has internal lighting affixed to the building facade. So it would be very similar to what you would see on, I guess, the Chick-fil-A logo, or the McDonald's logo on a wall, mounted to a wall.
It's going to be painted. Any chance maybe you consider reducing it some?
We can reduce it. We have done in the past. There's certain proportions we can do before it completely, disappears. We are open to that idea. And usually, always what we do on those is we'll paint in the city's name on the logo as well. I don't know if it was shown on that rendering, but, it'll be Missouri City, painted across the front of it too, so.
Where will that be facing 1092 or Highway 6?
I guess it would be facing 1092.
92, I think.
Right, it would be kind of
It's on that corner.
facing that corner.
Yeah, it's on the drive-through side.
The drive-through side would be facing 1092,
Because the
yes.
face of your building is facing Highway 6.
Correct.
Okay, so
So
this,
you're
That's
really
also the
facing-
shortest that's also the shortest wall of their building.
That's right.
Yeah, on this particular building design, the wall mural always sits between the pay and pickup window.
I know.
We have a different model that we do where it's on the front, but it's a much larger building.
And this is the definition for a panel sign. It's on the screen at the top. Is a solid face wall sign without internal illumination, having applied vinyl or flat cutout letters, symbols, or pictures.
But, okay, let me make sure I understand, though. The sign that he's presenting will look exactly like it is here, meaning it's not raised above the eave tops of the building or anything like that? It will be exactly as presented here?
Right.
And our concern about it is just that it does not fit into our current plans.
Right.
Not even our.
We have an issue with the size, the amount of signage, the
Okay,
amount of
too-
square
too
foot.
large.
We have an issue with the materials that are used for the sign. And then we have an issue with the flags, the number of flags and the positioning of the flags.
Right, I got you, but I think he said that he probably wouldn't have a problem with reducing the size of the
wall mural.
wall mural. And now it's kind of, because I know he was talking about the panel sign, so.
To reduce it within the
Yeah.
square foot that you
Or at
have
least-
allowed.
Or we can get it as close to as possible. I mean, if it's, I'm trying to think how many square feet would be allowed on that one side. It's,
What exactly size do you think he should reduce it to?
He's allowed, in the report, it has listed, based on that 2 square foot per linear frontage of the building, they're allowed up to 136.76 square feet of
Yeah, and I'm
signage.
trying to take that into a square.
well,
So when
just-
I take that into a square, and I take this, which is a dimensional drawing, well, what am I reducing that down to meet the sign? Can you kind of draw it on the, just kind of,
I can, well,
Cut it by
see, I can give a quick, maybe it's
Cut
helpful
it
for the context of it, is that if we're allowed 135, 36-ish square feet for that facade, the Cane's logo sign over the pickup window is 24 square feet in total, and the Cane's wall mural, as shown on the drawing, is 125 square feet. So we're approximately 10 square feet
Over
over
that, and that's
over
just the
the
two.
requirement. So if we take down the wall mural 10 square feet, you're probably looking at
a third?
maybe a little over a third, maybe like a fourth of what it is now. I mean, three quarters of what it's shown now.
But getting rid of the dog on that side doesn't let him meet that?
Do you know what's the square footage of
Well, the
the dog
dog,
signs? Because they're on both
Dog
sides.
is
Dog
close to the
is,
same as
the dog is 32 square feet.
yeah, so I mean, if you take that out, are we?
And you would be
meeting?
taking both of them, both of the dogs out?
I think he told us, that, you said that he was, are you
I
agreeable?
would be willing to remove
the
the
dog and
dog
the flags
and the
out?
flags out.
Sorry, John.
I like the dog. And the reason why
I
I
do too.
We're not gonna argue over dogs.
we're not, I'm gonna have a motion
Not
here.
gonna do
that-
it.
The reason why I think the city needs to be flexible with this particular case is when you're on the corner of Highway 6 and you want to take a left turn onto 1092, the city of Missouri City has trees that are elevated in a brick planter. It's ours as a city. We own it. It's part of our curb appeal, if you will. It's a sense of arrival for our city. But it blocks the view of your 23-foot sign when you're getting ready to turn onto
Correct.
Murphy Road. So I think the city needs to show some latitude, only because, number one, I think it's a pretty sign. If you want to reduce the flags,
It's-
I don't have a problem with the flags. What I want is a successful restaurant.
That's
And I
what
want your numbers to be awesome.
Yeah, and what we've noticed, like I explained before, the altering our signage package alters the brand, which then
Right.
reduces the recognition of our business and therefore reduces our revenue. I didn't talk about dogs, but I don't know if, does anybody know the history behind the dog, or?
Part of our sign changes over the last year, and a certain company that wanted pictures of dogs.
Oh, okay.
They sell pet supplies.
Well, well, just so everybody knows, like, the restaurant.
Dog pictures.
Yeah. Well, the restaurant itself, the namesake is Cane.
Yeah.
And what he is, he's a children's therapy dog. And Gwen Graves, who's the wife of Todd Graves, the founder of the company, what she does is she takes Cane to wherever they go when they build new stores. They travel with the dog, and they actually take the dog into hospitals as a therapy dog for children with cancer. So it's kind of like their mascot, and they make it a point to, use the dog as much as possible. But
And they put it in the window.
They can have window signage,
one thing we have.
25%.
See? Oh, that's right, we cut that back too.
Yeah.
didn't we?
One thing we have done in the past at other cities is we've changed the banner material from its it's not necessarily a fabric, but I mean, it's a thick exterior banner. We've actually changed it to a hard sign. So it's more of a metal sign with a casing mounted to the wall.
Okay.
But
I think it's an attractive building.
Yeah, that's.
Well, let me say this, if we relate what he's doing with the decor and what he's trying to bring out, I'm sort of reminded of a Sonic,
Yes.
and I see the Sonics, and quite honestly, they do that and did a big study on that, and they felt like that really, got people's attention. By the way, that's what restaurants really want to do, is get people's attention. So, it's easy to say, well, let's get rid of the flags. We don't want the flags. But really and truly, when you take a look at it and you say, now, wait a minute, does it enhance the business? I wish there was a way in which we could say, you can put them up for a year.
Well-
And if it works real well, then you can keep them. If it doesn't work too well, then you got to take them down. But you can't do that. You have to do it now. I really and truly think that, color is color, and it's coming. And I can't believe all the signs that I see now that are electrical and high definition signs and everything. We got to realize that's a business. And we have to accept the businesses to get into this area. And he's on a prime corner, folks. He's absolutely on the prime corner.
And I'm sure he's going to pay a
I
nice
wish
price
I
for the
wish I
corner.
owned that piece of land,
Yeah, it's,
because it's probably going to be a very prime piece of land.
Yeah, we've been waiting for how long for them to sell that?
Yeah.
Have you already purchased the land?
we
Are
won't
you-
actually execute a purchase or the final lease until we obtain the building permit.
Yeah.
Good
That's gonna
job.
release
And you
that.
see, when you take a look at that, and then you say, oh, let's look across the, well, gee, we got a Chevron over there. And the chevrons might not be as colorful, but it's there. And it is pretty colorful. And then you've got the Sonics down the way and everything. I just think that, I agree with John. I think, I don't have anything against the dog. And I really don't have anything against his sign there, because I don't think that he's trying to get some sign that's just blinking and it's going on and off and it's doing everything. It's a painted sign. It's a painted sign.
Has any of y'all been to New Orleans in y'all's lifetime and visited the city? I know, Gary, you mentioned earlier about New Orleans, but
Only to eat.
but I don't know if you are familiar at the Hilton downtown and near the CBG, there's that painted flute on the side of the building. That's the same artist that we use to paint the logos on our buildings. So it's
And this is, you're telling us that in your opinion, and in your statistics of all of your locations, the one at Sugar Land, you don't feel like is running up to par because it's not visible?
Well, it's not visible, it's not easily recognizable. So it's even come as far as, I mean, the store does fine. I mean, it's not like it's in risk of going out of business. It does plenty of business, but it does sway us when we look at new locations and building more in the same city. Like, for example, this past year in Houston, we built 8 stores in Houston. Once we hit a market, we like to then come again and build more in the area because we have now a new customer base. And with the one in Sugar Land, it gets passed over a lot as far as going back to the city and building new stores because of those kind of restrictions.
It sort of blends in
Exactly.
to the area into almost a camouflage.
How long has that store been open for?
I want to say 5 years.
5 years.
And they're real active in the community too, I know that,
Yeah, they are.
the high schools and stuff.
I know,
I got mine out of the high schools.
yeah, I believe yesterday I was at an opening in Cedar Park, and they were doing a fundraiser the day of their opening, and all the proceeds for that opening night went to a local charity. I think it was like a animal charity or something. So.
Okay, well, this is a public hearing, so.
Let me ask you a question here. Do you feel like that you get a lot of your business at your stores all over the country because you have all this on the building? All these flagpoles and signs and so forth, and flags and whatever?
Honestly, I really do feel like we do achieve a higher level of business on the stores that have the complete branding package. But obviously, in some cities that have higher density and better traffic and visibility, then it sometimes doesn't matter. But especially going into a new city, having our full branding package, we feel does help. So even if it's a small percentage to some degree, but that small percentage can mean a lot in our book.
The only entryway that you're going to get is certainly not off of Highway 6 directly,
No, we're not.
nor off of 1092 directly. So what's going to happen is people are going to have to sort of find their way into it. That's not hard, but
No.
it certainly isn't a direct entry. And if you remember when this first piece of property was presented, and what we saw when the Lowe's came in, the developer told us that they were going to make every effort in the world to try to get restaurants in through this area to be attractive and nice and so forth. I think we have an attractive, nice restaurant. I wish we could contain it, but I feel like in today's business and today's economy, we better be careful.
Can we just, let's have the public hearing and then let's debate it amongst ourselves? And maybe we'll take it each section and we'll probably end up at your same conclusion. Is that okay?
And
We can do that.
I would like to add one more thing.
Yes, go on.
Just so you're aware, and given the circulation to that development, as part of an agreement with us and the developer, SDI, it is whether SDI chooses to do it at the same time, which is we're proposing for them to do. If they don't, we're taking it upon ourselves to complete that internal circulation road to that other Lowe's entrance drive off of the other corridor, which is, what was the name?
1092 Murphy
yeah.
Road.
So that will be completed, so it'll have a full circulation path from the other entrance to the other entrance.
This is the 25-foot that comes in.
And that would essentially, the replat for this parcel was before the commission last month, I believe. And so Raising Cane's would purchase a portion of what was Reserve C, and so they would build the access road across the other reserve, portion of that reserve.
Correct. And before you begin your debate on the signs, the one thing we have done in the past is instead of using the Cane's logos as the flags, we do use national and state flags. We can alternate what kind of image goes on that flag.
Okay.
So with that, I can close.
No, I have one more
Oh.
question for you, though. If in the event that your wall sign, going back to this, do you have anything in mind that you could possibly consider, use if indeed there's a problem where they're going to want you to use the channel signs?
We have a sign guy that we use on all of our buildings, and we will coordinate with him and the city to make sure that we comply with whatever rules and regulations that y'all impose.
So it's definitely not a deal breaker.
It's not a deal breaker. I strongly urge
I
that y'all agree with
know,
it. It's,
I know.
but
I
we
just
can,
want to be realistic with
Yeah.
you, but
we can make it work.
you can make it
Yeah,
work.
we'll figure something out.
Okay.
That's what we do.
Let me ask one more question. If we so desired to have that sign there, the big one, reduced somewhat, you can do that without a problem?
Correct. Yes.
What about the number of the flagpoles and so forth like that? 14 is an awful lot.
It is a lot. We can reduce them and we can remove them. At minimum, the 3 across the front would be nice to have, but we are willing to adjust it.
Do you have those in Sugar Land?
No, we don't.
No,
No.
no.
We have, in Sugar Land, we have one
Love it.
one
I love
sign.
it. Sugar Land is,
on the front.
That's right. I have some concern about the 14 flags and the poles and all that stuff. I don't particularly.
Make a motion to close the
Gee.
public hearing?
I second
No,
that
no.
motion.
We got to, Allow
Oh,
the
we gotta
public-
hear from the people. That's right.
Okay, is there anybody else?
Is anybody in the public,
Thank you.
anybody out there that would like to step to the podium and address this situation?
Make a
I know
motion to
one.
close the public hearing?
Second?
To that? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the public hearing? All those in favor? Those opposed?
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got to decide now as to exactly what you really want to do.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow for the requested deviations in terms of the size of the signs, including the dog, a reduction in the flags from 14 to 10, which would be, I think, a good number. And it's not just cosmetic, it's not just a marketing philosophy, we are literally affecting his curb appeal marketability from one of the busiest intersections in Fort Bend County with our city logo and brick planner. That is justification in and of itself to make these exceptions. We're not setting precedent. I agree with how detailed our sign ordinance is. I think staff worked long hours on coming up with something that's really going to make the city look good, plus be developer friendly. I like our sign ordinance, but every now and then, something's going to come up just like this. We affect their marketability with our structure that we have on that corner, which, like you said, is prime real estate.
Can we go with
I
three
think we
flags?
should show some latitude.
3 flags.
3 flags on the front? Yeah.
Okay, I'll second your motion.
3 on each side then. Then we'll go with 9. Let me tell you why. Because the very front is what will never be seen.
You're right.
When you're coming up to
That's
that
right.
intersection and you're at that light, maybe.
Never
But you're
see it.
coming from the other way, you'll never see that main
Never.
23-footer. You won't. And if you're paying attention to it, I hope I'm not around you because you're busy. That's a
It is.
That's a
It's a busy.
complicated
It is.
intersection.
That's a
3
good
turning
point.
lanes off of 1092.
Right. Plus,
And,
he's not on the street. Are you going to build a sidewalk all the way around the perimeter of that property?
I believe there is a sidewalk that we're continuing.
Yeah. And it would just be required along the street, and then
Okay.
internally, they could connect it as needed.
He's probably 75, 100 feet from the curb line at 1092. So it's not like,
Yeah, he's sitting on it.
plus you're going to have shrub rows going along the parking lot, so
Yeah, he has quite a bit of
Anyway.
landscape.
You want to ask him if they're hiring you?
I'm gonna second
The one
your,
important- I
John,
think the one important thing,
I'm gonna second your motion. He
And,
made a motion.
Was that a motion to reduce it from
Yes, that
14
was
to
a
10
motion.
or 14 to
14
9?
to 9.
I'm gonna second your motion, and I'm not gonna bore you.
Let me finish my motion before you second.
9 flags.
Unless you're giving me a blank check, then I'll just
Well, you got a
rattle.
blank check, because I'm with you.
And Commissioner
9.
O'Malley, 9 flags with 3 per side.
Right. 3 major on the front, 3 on each side, mainly to give that, if it works as a marketing tool, then let it work from coming up on Highway 6 and let it work from Murphy Road. But I want them to have the dog. And I want the development world to know, we've spent a lot of time on coming up with these guidelines, and they're great guidelines. But we also need to accept some coaching from our developers, and that's what we're getting here. This thing works. Yes, it's a successful business in Sugar Land, but we want to be better. That's why we spent all those hours doing that. We want to be better than our peers geographically.
let me ask you one more time. Restate your motion so everybody knows exactly what we're voting for.
Okay. The deviations that they're requesting
Okay?
in terms of how big their signs are, the number, square feet, give them the deviations, but I want to give them the dog, even if they're not requesting it. Give them their brand.
Okay. And
I
their
want to
material.
reduce the number of flags from 14 to 9.
Okay.
Other than that,
The material.
the material, I don't think material was a big issue. Is material a big issue?
No, they allowed.
The brand is the brand.
Staff allowed it. Staff allowed it.
Right.
or
Okay,
recommended
so
it.
that's my long-winded motion.
Now, can I will second that motion without a long-winded 25 years of standing up on the podium. I think you said it very well and very eloquently, and I think that we should go forward with it.
Okay,
I think it's a good move.
If I
Are
may
you okay
seek
with that, Bill?
You bet, I second that motion.
just a bit of clarification on the flags. As, I assume your motion includes the flags extending above the parapet or above the building.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure.
As shown.
As shown.
As shown, yeah.
Deviations as shown.
All right, it's been moved and seconded.
And
Is
can
there
I
any-
just ask another question on the material again? Because we mentioned flexibility. So are we approving the material as proposed? Or are we approving modifications to the material to meet the current ordinance?
The deviations that I'm focused on are the signage and the brand with the flag,
The amount in the flags?
yeah, with the dog. That even if it's not requested, I think we need to show flexibility, it should be allowed. And if council wants to debate having a dog or not having a dog, I want a successful restaurant. And if that requires, or it helps to have a dog on your wall, then I want it to be a great dog. And by the way, I want the dog to visit. Not that it's required, because I have no authority at all, but I sure would like to see that dog. All right, clarity? Good?
Good? I'm
And
game.
he seconded.
Second the motion.
I just
All
have
right,
one
does
thing to say.
everybody understand any further discussion on any of it?
I think,
I have one comment to make. I definitely will not vote. I'm gonna vote, but I just want to say, personally, I think the flags are just a little too much. That's it, but I don't want to vote no, because I do like the project. The flags are just a little too much, though. I'm
Right.
done.
glad to hear that.
I have an
Call for the
amendment.
vote.
I have an amendment to that. On the Canes One Love,
We want that Missouri City and
yes, thank you.
good catch.
Because that's online, there's a couple of good pictures of Norman and somewhere else, Baton Rouge, you have it on there, I think. Incorporate that in, I think. That would
Canes
go
One
good with our,
Love, Missouri City.
with our planner out front, wouldn't it?
Sounds great.
I think that's a fair enough.
Well, it's a
request.
recommendation. We can't require them to place it,
Off the
but
record.
it is a strong
Decide
recommendation.
if
Way
that's
off the
possible.
record. We're out of control.
Will you accept that?
Yeah, absolutely. But I want you to be open. In 3 months, or when this thing's going and you're going to get some chicken fingers.
I have teenage boys.
I want you to say to
They
yourself,
eat
you know what?
all
I
of
changed
them.
my mind. I like those flags.
I like those flags.
I'm not gonna like them. I'm not. Canes gets a lot of my money.
All right.
I don't need a flag.
I have a comment. I have to agree with Sonia here to a certain extent. I think the flags will make the building look good. I'm not quite sure that the 9 is where it really should be. I think based on the product, if your product is good, it's going to sell no matter where you are. And you're on a
say that.
visible corner there, people are going to know where you are, and they're going to stop and they're going to participate in that. Now, whether or not all those flags or poles and so forth make that great a difference, I don't know that one way or the other. But I think it's good
Mr. O'Malley.
as Mr. O'Malley here, Commissioner O'Malley, dropped it from 14 to 9. I like that, much better. And I think the rest of it is okay. So is any further discussion on this item at all? Anyone? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed?
Unanimous.
Okay.
The shortest sign discussion we've had in 6 months.
Boy, isn't that something? Man, I'm retiring.
That's why they want us to debate it during the public hearing
Oh,
and take it
man.
in chunks.
I bet you thought we were gonna have a hassle with that, didn't you?
I had made up in my mind. we
No,
would
we
not.
just, we let John do the talking.
Made up in my mind. we
John, you did good.
You guys have a public hearing?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, we do.
Vocational school.
Okay, agenda item number, where we are here.
You know what, I never drink. Going half of this, I'll get a cup.
I would like to see more of that.
No?
like I found online.
I haven't touched it.
when you're ready.
Okay, agenda item number 11, public hearing and consideration for a specific use permit. Public hearing to receive comments for or against a request for a specific use permit to locate technical and medical vocational school within a retail space located at 2651 Cartwright Road. The subject site is located within the Quail Valley Town Center, which is located at 2601-2703 Cartwright Road, west of Cypress Point Drive.
Well, if we turn this down, this is...
And this is a request for a specific use permit for a place of assembly for a vocational, the application, or the applicant is proposing to locate a vocational school to teach continuing education courses and different courses in the health professions. This location, the shopping center on Cartwright Road, Cypress Point and Cartwright Road, has a healthcare facility in it, a uniform, medical uniform shop supplier in the shopping center as well. And the applicant was looking at this location as a complement to those businesses. If the commission will remember, about 3 years ago, another applicant wanted to put an adult daycare in a portion of this space, and that was approved by council. However, that project fell through. As such, staff is recommending, as part of this application, to repeal that ordinance, and the shopping center owner has consented to do that, and to allow for this place of assembly to go into this space. And as noted in your application, the land use category for places of assembly, I'm sure you recognize, is used for a lot of different types of uses that draw people to a certain location at a given point in time. So it includes educational, it includes social, whether it's like a banquet hall or something like that. It includes religious, it includes different cultural types of land uses. So it's a large land use category. This particular application is looking to do a vocational school, but it falls within that same land use category. And so staff is recommending, there are no deviations. The building is existing, and staff is not recommending any changes to the existing site. Parking is sufficient for this use and the other businesses that are there. And so staff is recommending to approve the location at this center.
Okay.
And we're not required to discuss anything having to do with the ordinance and how that we want that to, that the former person that was,
The previous?
right. So we don't even need to discuss that?
No,
That's all gonna be
it's,
taken care of?
yeah, the owner has already consented. They went after that specific use permit intentionally for that applicant to locate that adult daycare there, and since that project has fallen through, they have no desire to lease it out to another adult daycare.
Okay.
And they've so advised the city of that?
They have.
Okay. All right, as this is a public hearing, anybody in the audience that would like to step to the podium and address this?
And this is
Please
the
be our
applicant.
guest.
This is the applicant, Mrs. Williams.
Good evening. My name is Camilla Williams. I've been a resident of the Fort Bend area for over 30 years. My mom herself was an entrepreneur. When I came up with the vocational study, I've seen a lot of changes within the Fort Bend area because I've seen the growth in the Fort Bend area. And when I seen that particular strip center, it's been vacant for some time. It was just really permeated in my spirit that is where I wanted to be located. I've been in this particular industry for over 20 years. and it is my desire to place a vocational school, and that vocational school will be able to help those individuals who are at an entry level, who are not college-bound students, but also those individuals who are just coming out of a position in the allied health industry and wanting to go into another segment of the medical field. We also provide state testing, allied health testing. Not only will we be able to provide didactical theory studies, but also testing for the state, also continuing educational studies as well, online and within the classroom. We will be also having students that come on a smaller level than ACC, because we would only provide a classroom 20-to-1. So I don't think that it would, hinder any other schools that's centralized around the Fort Bend area as it relates to ACC. They don't provide medical, allied health medical, like IV technician, phlebotomy, but they do provide those courses in the downtown Houston area.
You said that you've been in this business now for 20 years, roughly?
20 years, yes, sir.
Have you ever opened a place like this before?
I have in the Humble area. I am originally born and raised here in this particular area, but through a previous marriage, we opened a school on the north side, and it was pretty successful. But I had went through a situation with my ex-husband, and so we had to shut the school down. I then migrated back to the Missouri City area, and I've just basically been working in the area of testing, doing the allied health testing.
How many employees do you have?
I don't have any employees. I basically go to different different schools or what have you, and do the allied health testing. But as you know, I did try to provide you guys some information. Allied health, the allied health industry will always be, amen, there's always going to be someone that's sick. We're always going to need nursing. And so I believe that this particular school will be able to catapult the Missouri City area and revitalize the particular strip center, because it has been vacant for some time.
Right. You have a pretty broad curriculum here.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to be able to handle all that?
Absolutely, sir. Yes, sir.
How many, you're going to have students at this facility?
Yes, sir.
How many students are you going to have?
The class ratio is 20-to-1. We'll only have morning and evening classes so that we're able to accommodate those who are working, who want to test, and then those individuals who are maybe unemployed or have not attempted college or what have you, so that we'll be able to serve them in the morning.
Okay. And so you say about 20?
20-to-1, yes, sir.
I just was looking at the parking, and they aren't going to walk. They're going to drive.
Right.
If I count right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parking places in front, maybe 7.
Well, no, it's the whole shopping
But
center.
plus all
you
of
got
It's
this,
the whole
Shopping
shopping center
center.
parking.
all of that is parking out in the
Oh,
center.
oh, I understand.
Way to the donut.
This.
Yes, no, I understand that.
They would have access to that entire parking lot
I don't
in
think
front
you're
of the
going to have
shopping
a problem
center.
with parking in
I
that.
don't think so either.
Not until we get some other areas.
Sorry.
Well, you know what, Ms. Williams, I think you're going to have a big problem with parking, because you're going to be so successful.
I received that.
That's a
Are you
great
hiring,
problem to
ma'am?
have.
I received that. I received that.
Get some chicken fingers.
But we're rooting for
Are
you.
you,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
are you going to be the single proprietor here? What?
Sir?
Are you going to be the single owner here?
No, sir. I do have other partners. I don't know if they're here today, but I do have other partners that's in the medical field. I have 2 other doctors that are going to be assisting me with the teaching and things of that nature, whatever's needed to make this business successful here.
Are you qualified to teach it? Do you
Yes.
have to get some type of certification?
Yes,
to
sir.
have that?
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yes,
just
ma'am.
curious.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you certified by the state or what?
Yes,
To
sir.
teach?
Yes, sir. Through Texas Workforce Commission.
Okay,
For vocation.
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
interesting, very, very interesting. Well, thank you for bringing something back to that strip center.
Amen.
We've heard a lot of things that have tried to go in here, and I don't think we have, I understand that it's a school, so we won't have to worry about it being a daycare. Remember, we've had
We had that.
quite
We had
often.
that.
Back when Bobby was here.
Yeah, and so, I thank you. I truly wish you the best, so.
I've talked with the other owners. I've talked with the other owners, and we're going to also get together, and my students are going to go to the uniform store so that we can help each other out. And then also, possibly, there is a nurses' healthcare facility that's also there, and so my students can do their internship with them as well.
Oh, very well. How do you gain your students?
I beg your-
How do you obtain students?
Well, through WorkSource, Work Solutions,
Okay.
WorkSource, TWC, Public.
Okay, I got
Yes,
you. I
ma'am,
got
word of mouth.
you. All right, that's a public hearing.
Okay,
You
yeah.
want to hear from someone else?
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions of this lady? Anyone? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good luck.
As we have a public hearing, do we have anybody in the audience that would like to address this project? If there is, please be our guest. Do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we close the public hearing. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, do I hear a motion
I make
that
a
we
motion.
approve?
I second it.
Oh, Mr. Gauger made the motion?
Oh, you've already made the motion.
Right.
All right, who's going to second?
I will, that's fine. I second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on agenda item number 11? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right, thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. We wish you the very best with this. Okay, moving on, agenda item number 12, public hearing for a zoning text amendment, vehicle signs. 12A, public hearing to receive comments for or against proposed amendments to the city's sign regulations relating to a vehicle signs.
Doesn't this negate that?
The reason you have this on your agenda without a preliminary report is the schedule required for notice and publication. We published notice of the public hearing. Staff was not able to pull together a preliminary report, but after publication, we received inquiries from the public. We thought it would be inappropriate to publish notice of a public hearing and not hold a public hearing if the public was interested. Although the person that we received the inquiries from may not be here, I believe I recognize another person who would like to address business signs or commercial signs on vehicles, our discussion from a month ago. And we will, he will be here. I would love to hear his comments and any comments that the commission has, and I promise you, at the next meeting, there will be a preliminary report for you to consider.
So you're going to call this again?
Yes.
Next month? Okay.
Yes.
All righty.
Okay, is there anybody that would like to comment? Please be our guest.
Mr. Chairman, good to see you're still at it.
Thank you.
Members of the commission, I'm Dan Osborne, Colony Creek Community Church on Highway 6. And here, obviously, to talk about vehicle signage. We operate a daycare called Colony Kids, one of the different daycares in the area. I'm here to argue for consideration of exceptions to what would be considered some types of vehicles and how they're used in the city. Daycares they're a different kind of business. They are a business, there's no doubt about that. But they're a little different business than, say, some other businesses. You see a box van parked on Highway 6 with some sort of signage on it. Daycare buses have to be, of course, appropriately painted in a way where you're identified when you go pick up at school, because we're part of the partnership between parents raising their children, picking them up at school, continuing that education in an after-school program, in addition to preparing them to go to school. So it's a little different than just a straight-up business. And I don't think when you see a daycare bus, you have any sorts of feelings inside that, oh, that's sort of an offensive thing to look at like some box vans or other types of vehicles might be. And so I'm here basically to ask you, when you consider this ordinance and look at all the options, that you consider exempting daycares from the type of restrictions that would keep them from having the buses that they operate with now, because they're vital, they're absolutely vital to the way the daycare business operates.
Right.
In our particular case, we have two different programs. We have elementary school, and those are the Colony Kids buses, and then we also have a middle school program. And middle school kids wouldn't be caught dead getting on a daycare bus, so we have Colony Creek buses for the middle school program as well.
But they're moved, right? Every week, they're just parked in the same spot, but you're using them just about every day?
We use them every morning and every afternoon, every day.
Well,
All of them.
I think our ordinance covers you, does it not? Vehicles that are used in the operation of the business aren't part of the,
I think it's the parking of them, isn't it?
Yeah, where we want them parked.
I think.
Well, wherever
where did we put 'em?
as long as they're not blocking anything or anything like that.
well, if they're company vehicles, you want to leave the good spaces for your patrons or your parishioners or your members. And you
Or
park the
did
company
something
vehicles far away.
change between the last time we looked at it and council looked at it?
When city
That's a
council.
leading question,
When
Councilman.
city council acted on the sign ordinance, they carved out all proposals related to vehicle signs, which is our shorthand term for business signs on vehicles,
Right.
and left it the way it was in the then existing ordinance. So we're looking, are there modifications that we need to make to that? And if we make those modifications, how do we do it in a way that we're rational, we protect the image and appearance of our community, and we address the needs of the businesses at the same time?
And
we're
So
starting-
that's
we're
our
starting
balance.
over.
Only on vehicle signs. Only on vehicle
On vehicle
signs.
signs.
Only on vehicle
Right,
signs.
no, I'm not,
And
I'm
we
not going
will,
to canopies, I'm done, but, yeah, just
Well,
on vehicles.
see, I even think, I mean, he brings up the
Yeah, that's
daycare.
actually a good point.
That's a very good point.
He brings up the daycare end of it, and then I get to thinking, well, Home Depot has vehicles. They rent them. They got them all over their lot. Not all over their lot, but they got a lot of them on their lot.
I think when common sense is applied, the ordinance is not necessarily for those businesses that have vehicles with their name on it that they use every day, just happen to be parked in the same spot, at least in my mind, and
Yeah.
I might not be at all familiar with all the details, but
think you're
what
all
I
right.
saw seemed to be lumping box vans into just a general category without considering
Probably.
daycare buses as a separate entity
Yeah.
or separate type of vehicle, and they are. And it's very unique, very different.
Yeah.
number one, I appreciate you taking the time to come
That's a good
down. All the input helps us.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very
as
definitely.
commissioners,
Sure.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Gary, when do you expect the preliminary report for all of this?
In a month.
In a month?
Next meeting, October meeting,
Okay.
which may be a little less than a month. Maybe, I think it's the 10th, perhaps. I don't recall the exact date.
You're thinking that it will address their end on the daycare center type?
I think from hearing the discussion tonight that I must urge that
Input that.
consideration.
Right.
Might I add that you might want to consider also and I'm not throwing, well, I am throwing a wrench in it, but I mean, you do have these rented vehicles that are around. I can think of Enterprise has cars. That's not and that is an advertisement.
Well, if you'll recall, the commission indicated they did not want to touch passenger cars.
Right,
And they did not want to touch panel vans.
right.
So, big box trucks
Oh, okay.
and
We were
trailers.
trying to go to Jeep.
We
got
didn't,
down.
Gross
we didn't
vehicle
take,
weights and square footage type.
and our discussion did not include buses.
Right. Okay.
I make a motion
Now
that
it
we
has.
close the public hearing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
It's
you
okay,
off,
no,
Gary.
That's
All
okay.
right, is there a second to that? Yeah,
Well, if there's anybody else?
there's nobody else.
Oh, unless Lawrence is going to talk about it.
No, he's not gonna talk
Clarence,
about
did you wanna
anything
talk
right there.
about-
Who seconded it? The motion's here, motion is here with the,
That's seconded.
all right,
You got it.
Lynn Scott. Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? From that standpoint, if nobody else has anything to say, we're adjourned.
Good job.
We're gonna do this